Hey y'all, this Coach in the Fight here to conclude our little plumbing experiment with Cousin Annie's plumbing up there. You know, there was two jobs. It was the house that she currently lives in and the house of her recently deceased son. And so it was two separate jobs, two separate locations, similar but different problems. On the main problem, they used a flare fitting and the polybutylene pipe, and you could tell it gave them some trouble. They couldn't get it to work because they actually went ahead and glued the flare fitting and the polybutylene pipe, so it all had to be cut out. But I wouldn't recommend using that flare fitting with the polybutylene because it just doesn't work. Didn't work for them. We went and cut theirs out and put a whole new fitting in, and it still leaked, and so we had to take it back apart and use a pressure fitting instead of a flare fitting. You know, the flare fitting is kind of like that shark bite stuff that you can take apart and put together, whereas the pressure fitting, that's the one you squeeze up in there and then torque it down real solid until it can't move. Well, the pressure fitting works with the polybutylene pipe, but that flare fitting, it doesn't. I wouldn't use that at all. Not with the polybutylene. So what we had to do was we had to cut out the old flare fitting and replace it with pressure fittings on the main one. The other job, it was also leaking, and turns out it was a pressure fitting with the polybutylene, but it was missing the bushings, the little bushings that have to go in there to close up the distance, the gap between the polybutylene and the PEX. There's actually has a different size inside diameter, and if you don't use the bushings, they will leak or blow out on you, which is what's the case there at the last job. It just flat out blew out. Nobody was looking the first time. It blew out. It blew $140 worth of water on the ground. I went through there on my four-wheeler and almost got stuck in the mud. There was so much water on the ground. But the second time we happened to be standing there because we had started turning the water on and turning it off as we used it to water the dog. We used that water down there to water the dog. We feed our dog down there, and we had to give it water, and we had to turn the water on, fill up its water, and turn the water back off. Well, the last time we went down there to do that, it blew out again. So, but we've replaced it. Turns out it was missing the bushings, and they're known to blow out if you don't have the bushings, so we replaced those. So, moral of the story is you have to use correct stuff with that kind of stuff. Wherever any plumbing, but you get that pressure on there, 120, 150, 200 pounds of pressure. What they say, pressure busts pipes, and if you ain't got a good fitting in there, you're going to find out as soon as you put that pressure to it. So, but they're dry now, and we're going to conclude with that. Praise the Lord for opportunity to learn. We learned a lot, and stuff we can use for ourselves. So we give the Lord credit for the opportunity to do it. I'm glad we were able to help out the old widow lady. And we get credit for that, so praise the Lord.